everyone, and welcome back to the Slay with Shay platform. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Well, you haven't watched yet, but thank you for being here. And please do hit the subscribe button if you want to see more related content. So in this video, I'm going to be talking specifically about savings. So I'm going to talk about how I save, how I've been able to save, and I guess the kind of tips that I would give for people who really want to be more stricter with their savings. I definitely went through a period where I really wanted to save, but I just wasn't able to, or at least I felt like I wasn't able to because of the amount of outgoings that I had and the amount of debt that I needed to pay off. So I went through a period where I really sacrificed saving over paying off my debt. So I just kind of said, right, I would just put the maximum I can towards my debts and just leave myself with enough money to live off as opposed to putting money away. So once I was in a season when, yes, I could actually start putting away money, the actual challenges came with actually being able to maintain the way in which I was saving. So I thought it would be a good idea to kind of do a video on that journey and also kind of talk about the top tips that I would give for people who are trying to be stricter about their savings. So the first tip I would give is when you want to start saving is to look at your income, look at your outgoings, look at the disposable income you have left after you've done those deductions, and then think of an amount that you can comfortably put away every month and make sure that the amount is realistic. And the reason I say this is because when I first started saving, I just got gassed at the fact that I could actually save. So I was telling myself, you can pretty much save all your money. Like once you've taken away, your bills, like your phone bill, etc. You can pretty much save everything. You can leave yourself with next to nothing and you'll be fine. Well, I soon found out very quickly that that was not the case. I needed to make sure that I still left myself with enough money to sustain my day-to-day expenses. And what happened was I was putting away a large chunk every month, but continuously throughout the month I was dipping into it because I needed to, because I didn't have enough to kind of manage my day-to-day expenditure. So that's why it's really important to start off. If you have to start off small, start off small. There's nothing wrong with that. I think for some reason I really got it into my head that I needed to really be putting away a large amount and I needed to be committed to that. But one thing I soon realized is that that time will come. There will be that time where you can put away that large figure. For you, it might be that you're starting off very small. That's okay. As long as you're in a place where you can actually start putting something away, that's the most important thing. And I just wish I kind of thought more like that. At the time, it was just yeah, let's get this money. Let me put this money away. And it was just what's the point when you're just literally dipping back into it every month? And then what I would find is that in my next pay, I would want to obviously replace the money that I dipped into, but then I'd be dipping back into it again because it was just a cycle. It was just a bit ridiculous. And at one point, it actually started to feel like I wasn't really saving anything. So you don't want that. So what I would say is just kind of have a look at your finances, have a look at the money that you've got after you've taken away your bills and your day-to-day expenditure, etc. And then say, okay, this is the amount I know that I could put away every month and not miss it and not think about it. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. The next thing that I would say is out of sight is out of mind. When I first started saving, my savings account was in the same with the same bank as my current account. So when I would log into my online banking, I'd be like, oh, okay, there's my current account, there's my savings. And initially, it used to excite me a little bit, kind of logging in and seeing my savings growing. But subconsciously, what it was doing was reminding me that I have money. When really the key to really saving is kind of telling yourself that the only money that you have is the money that you have for your day-to-day expenditure, nothing else. You don't even consider your savings as being something that can be spent. And I wasn't really thinking like that. I would look at it as a whole figure and I would be like, that's how much money I have. So whenever I was running low on my current account, it was very easy to just press a couple of buttons and just swipe a little £100 into my current account here, another £20 here, £50 here. Before you know it, you're dipping into your savings again. And for me, I just found that having it with the same bank and having that real quick, easy access just did not work for me. So what I did was I opened a savings account with a completely different bank, made sure that the access to it was very, very minimal. So I literally just made sure that I didn't have online banking for that account on my phone. I obviously can access it if I need to. So, but it's a bit of a process to do that. Basically, it's not as quick as before when I could just look on my phone and just quickly press a few buttons. It's a bit of a process. So I know that I would have to stop and think before I do that. So yeah, and I just found that for me, what's really helped with that is that it's really made me forget that I even have that money. Because to be honest with you, I generally don't think about it and I don't remember it's there. Now and again, I might just check just to make sure that the money I'm transferring in every month is actually going in there. But other than that, don't think about it. So I'm only focused on the money that's in my current account that's there for my day-to-day expenditure, and I will just make sure that I stick within that budget. It's different for everyone though, because I know that there's some people, for them, kind of going into their account, looking at their savings often gives them a drive, it gives them a buzz. It's like, yeah, I'm getting closer to my goal. Not me. For me, I'll just look at it and be like, woo, I'm rich. And then start thinking about kind of like what I want to spend it on next. Or if I'm out and, you know, I'm feeling a bit excited, I might just be like, oh yeah, let me get the next 25 rounds. Okay, I exaggerated, but you know what I mean? Like, just having that access was just not good for me. And sometimes people don't realize that actually it's not the best for them either, in the sense that you might transfer a little £10 or £20 and you don't think it's a lot, but that is £20 less towards your savings goals. So yeah, I would really recommend having your savings account separate to your current account and making the way in which you access it quite difficult so that you're less inclined to access it unless you absolutely have to. Another thing I'll recommend is, if it's within your means and it won't stretch you, is having almost an emergency pot or an emergency fund, as some people like to call it, which is a separate account that's separate to your savings goal, that is specifically there for any kind of emergency that would occur. So for example, maybe you've got a car, if damage happens and you need money, you're not going to have to dip into your savings that was supposed to be for something else. If God forbid you lost your job or something happens and you're not able to earn money, you know that you have a pot there to sustain you and sustain your expenses for the next couple of months. I would always recommend having some kind of an emergency fund if you have the capacity to. Another reason I'd recommend it as well is because I would go through phases sometimes where I was doing really well with my savings goals, really excited, and something from the pits of hell would just appear and knock me back for six, because it would just be something that I've not budgeted for, never expected to happen. And all of a sudden, I'm going to have to go dip into my savings to go and pay for that, whatever it is. Or, you know, say there's something that needs fixing in the house, or if a family member calls you with an emergency or anything like that. Things that you just didn't quite expect. So I found like having another pot where I kind of keep that for emergencies or for any eventualities that might pop up has helped me, because if something does happen, touch wood, that's going to be the pot of money that I go into first, and then it doesn't affect that other savings that I have for that particular goal. So yeah, if that's something that's within your capacity to do, if you can afford it, even if it's small amounts every month, it doesn't have to be anything big, but just something that you know that you have money should an emergency occur and you're not going to have to then kind of dip into your savings goal. I think also for me mentally as well, it really helped me, because I had many moments of feeling very knocked back whenever I would have to dip into my savings for something that popped up. These occasions don't come up often, but you just can't predict life. Life happens, things pop up, emergencies happen. And as much as you might think that, you know, you have enough to cover those emergencies, you just never know. And I used to go through moments feeling really down and feeling a bit like a failure, like, oh, I've worked this hard to get to this place, and okay, now I've had to take out £500 or £1,000 or whatever it is for this thing that's popped up, and it would really bother me. So I found that having that emergency fund has given me that slight reassurance that there is another pot of money that I can consult first before even thinking about touching my savings goal. So another thing that's really helped me save is not changing my financial habits whenever I've earned more money or whenever I've generated more income. So whether that be by getting another job or from my side business, I still kept my income and outgoings the same. Essentially not kind of telling myself because I've got more money, that means I need to spend more. I literally just keep everything the same. So effectively, I've got more disposable income because I've got more coming in. However, it's weird, it's a mental thing. I basically tell myself that I've still got the same amount of money coming in and going out. And then that way, that frees up more disposable income for me to then put away into my savings. So instead of kind of taking that extra money and being like, hey, got more money, let me spend more, I actually just take that extra money and just add it to whatever my regular savings amount was a month. And that's really helped me save loads of more money, because one, it's kind of allowed me to be more disciplined in terms of the amounts that I'm saving every month, but equally it's kind of helped grow my savings pots. Another way that I have tried to save money is kind of looking for life hacks. So for example, one of my absolute favorite pastimes is going to the spa. I love going to the spa. If you ever want to make me happy, buy me a spa voucher. honestly, I love spas. So when I first kind of discovered spas or started going to spas, I didn't really shop around for them. I just would kind of maybe type in Google like nice spas near me or something and kind of go to the first one. And you know, spas aren't the cheapest things, depending on which ones you go to, especially if you go to like an overnight spa or a really luxurious day spa, etc. But now what I do is, if I ever want to go to a spa, I make sure that I go on Voucher. Voucher is the plug for spas. I'm sure Groupon is as well, but for me personally, I always go onto Voucher and I will look, even if I've seen a spa deal somewhere else, I will look on Voucher to see if that same deal is on there for cheaper. So again, it's like you're not taking away from the luxuries that you like to enjoy. You're still doing that. You're just paying significantly less than you would if you was to go directly. There might sometimes be like slight kind of things to think about in regards to the vouchers, like you can only go on certain days, or you might have to pay £10 extra if it's on a weekend, etc. But that's fine. I've still saved myself like £100, so I'm happy to do that. I just like really explore life hacks. Like I have always kind of operated with, I'm not going to pay the first amount that pops up, so I'm going to shop around and see if I can find it cheaper. That might make me sound like a bit of a cheapskate, but it is what it is, isn't it? Like, this economy's tight, and if I can save money anywhere, I'm definitely going to. I never really look at something and kind of take that first price. I will shop around, and that's what I do with spas, with holidays, with anything that I really love, but I know can cost money. I will shop around and look for a cheaper alternative. This can be done in so many other areas of your life. So, for example, if you're somebody that likes to order takeaway or you like to go out to eat, if you kind of calculate how much you spend on that versus just going on YouTube and learning that recipe, throughout lockdown, I've learned so many new recipes of things that I probably wouldn't have cooked before, or maybe I would have gone and bought as a takeaway, or I would have gone out for dinner. And it's not to say that I won't ever go out for dinner again. However, the fact that I now know how to make it, I've saved money there already by, you know, the amount I would have spent on ingredients, etc. And on top of that, the bonus is I've now learned a new skill. I think it's really important to keep your eye on the prize. So if there's something that you are saving for specifically, whether that be a house or a car or home improvements, etc., what I do, and it might sound really obsessive, is I will look at that particular thing every day. Some people have vision boards, etc. But I will, for example, if I want a new car, I'm going to be Googling that car every day to remind myself why I am making sure that I'm sticking to that particular savings goal. Or I will go on Zoopla and look at loads of amazing, beautiful houses similar to the ones I might want to buy to remind me of why I have that particular goal. And as silly as it might sound, mentally, it really kind of stimulates you, and it kind of gives you that sort of courage to continue pushing. And anytime you have moments where you feel like, oh, let me just quickly dip in and buy this, you kind of remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing and why you're saving. I think it's really important to add purpose to anything that you do in life anyway. So if you add purpose to your savings, you're less likely to dip into it. It's okay to save for a rainy day or save just because you just want to have the money. But if you do attach a sense of purpose to it, like I'm saving for X or I'm saving for this, you'll probably find that because that purpose is what will then give you that drive to keep up that savings and keep up that motivation. So that's what I do. I make sure that I try and keep my eye on the prize. And if I can cut back in certain areas as well, like certain things that aren't so much luxuries, but I could treat it as luxuries. So I used to go to like yoga classes. I used to go to certain like kind of fitness classes, etc., which of course cost money. Now there's so much, well, there always was, but there's so much free content on YouTube. There's a really amazing YouTuber called Yoga with Adrian that I do her yoga workouts every morning. There's so many kind of like content out there that's free that you can do at home. And, you know, you've saved money from going to a class by doing it at home. And obviously it's not the same. I appreciate that. And sometimes it's nice to have that experience of going to a class. But when you're trying to save, you really need to kind of think of ways to be innovative and be creative, and think of things that you can probably just do yourself and do at home, and see how you can really try and stick to that goal of saving money. So yeah, so those are kind of like my main tips for saving, and that's pretty much how I manage my savings and the ways in which I try and save money. What are your savings tips? So what are the ways in which you guys save or manage your savings? What ideas would you give? I would love to hear them. Please share them in the comment section. I'd love to engage with you guys and find out how you do things, seeing if there's things that I can obviously learn from you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Thank you for watching.